intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Welcome to another month of Star Trek Fleet Command, and that also means that currently we have this battle pass right here. Now, this is a secondary battle pass, and this isn't a video like, oh, you need to go and buy it, because if you want to buy something, don't worry. There are a slew of events just for you. Look at all those pretty heroics. They got like a nice yellow shade and stuff. They're so pretty. Okay. Heroics and jokes about the game aside, seriously, this does provide a lot of value for you if you want to complete those events, and they tend to have synergy, as you can see with today's event, a mining event, with the primary one. Now, there are some slight differences that you do need to pay attention to. Number one, where this one, you want to have the materials, but you need to dock it, and that's kind of important. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, I want to talk about rewards for this because some things do slightly change, especially based on ops level. I want to make sure everybody has the most up-to-date information on what they should go after. Before you ask, nope, not aware of anything being added to it this time around. However, that obviously is a possibility. As always, I do recommend seeing how much currency you end up with towards the end, but I think this is a video that's important to get out now because a couple things need to be said. Like, for example, you see this box right here? You need to pull it every single day. This is your Ascendant supply crate for this short little battle pass that is resulting in a short event store. Click it, get your reward. I just got 1,200. Look at Lucky Rev. He gets the best RNG. So let's hop on over to what we want to focus on. Now, this is on the level 60 account for those who are unaware. So we're going to start with those recommendations for like G5, G6 players, and then work our way back for our lower level players out there. But everybody is important here. First stop is currencies and materials. Several things I want you to take note of in terms of value. You have primes here. There's prime orbit medallions. There's prime dolomite. Scroll on over. You're going to see the bunch of the regular stuff, but this is a big one. I focused on this last time. I really want to focus on it this time. Prime mirror particles are a very, very valuable thing to invest in with these event stores because it has multiple primes that can be advantageous to you, the player. The isolytic prime, which I've harped on before, of really enjoying. And then also, more importantly for the PvE players out there, the everyday players out there, the solo wave improvement. How, you might ask? Well, there is a research over in the mirror tree that is going to boost the amount of health that the central entity has. So like the thing that you're defending in the waves, it's going to boost it by 2, really improving your solo gameplay. So if you're a G4, G5, or even G6 player, this is definitely something I recommend you focus in on. Sadly, not available for our G3. We'll talk about what they have available here in a minute, but this is absolutely something you want to focus on. Would also recommend taking a look at the dolomite as a, kind of backup. You have other things here that maybe are valuable to you, but I would say hold off on all of this. I feel like this all has pretty solid sourcing as it is. And with event stores, we want to focus on things that do not have good sourcing. So that prime mirror particle, one of the best sets of primes in the game, or there's only a couple of them, but very valuable to you. Grab those and then scroll back over here. You see various things that have value. Again, not really big on spending on these things. If you have leftovers, get the War Room. If you do not have the Ferengi Whip, it is solid, but still behind Prime Miracle Particles for me. And then, of course, you have Prime Orbit Medallions. Again, I'm speaking mostly to my G5, some of the G4 players, and G6 players. Moving on to ship parts. There's really only a few special ships to worry about here, and we're focusing on ships that have a very long upgrade path. If you don't know the upgrade path to all these ships, feel free to ask because we actually keep a chart of all that information. But the beryllium spheres to the NSCA is a very long path, something worth considering. You should come down here, you're going to see a lot of things that you have a lot of already. Probably don't need, but just in case, give a peek if you're falling behind on some of these. But again, this is mostly Franklin stuff, Devore, Fuchsia. If you haven't finished those and you want to finish them for your IA, grab them, but low priority. High priority in ship parts is going to be the beryllium spheres. The Revenant has a very quick upgrade path. Would not recommend the Revenant stuff. The Vindicator is a maybe. I mean, if that's important to you for the refinery, that is helping you get better Fleet Commander stuff quicker. So think about that one. And then the Relativity, again, has a pretty solid timetable and upgrade path. But if you're a G4 player, pay attention to this one. Why? Because the relativity can get so big so quickly in G4. And if you want to speed that up just to have probably your biggest ship in G4, check out the relativity. All right, we'll jump over to blueprints real quick. You're going to see a slew of your normal things. You got the Revenant, you got the Vindicator, got the Protector. The only one here I'm going to point you towards is probably the Vindicator, just due to sourcing methods. Now, you do have this one with flashpoints being paused, not really knowing Galactic Invasion is rolling around. These two side by side might be worth it. The faction ships are an immediate ignore. Just the conversion cost for these is not very good. Like you said, 45,000 to get 5 blueprints is absolutely not worth it. Ignore those, ignore those, ignore those. It's not valuable to you, the average player, even the spender. Doesn't matter who you are. That's simply not worth it. Scrolling down, you'll find a bunch of the older stuff. Most of you who are, in the range that I'm talking to aren't going to need it, but just in case you see the slew of things available. Sadly, no Serene Squall, a couple other things, but don't worry. Time will tell. We'll find some reliance in there eventually. Last but not least, officers. I do want to point out Scotty is in here. Technically, both Scotties. You got one Scotty here and one Scotty there, but specifically, I'm talking about Strange New World Scotty. Very useful. Some of the recent loops that have come out. If you're looking for something to go after officer-wise, just keep in mind he's an epic, and they don't have the best conversion rates for there. So waiting to see how much currency you end up with. If you only end up with 150,000 currency, it means you get 20 shards. If that gets you closer, certainly keep it in mind. But as you come down here, you see more skill points for Lorca. That's actually pretty valuable. And again, base it off what you have. Savick is a good officer here. Certainly worth considering. More importantly, she's a rare. So being able to get more ISO Cascade. And remember, at tier 4, she actually gets bigger than Nurse Chapel. That could be quite good. But let's rotate on over to the magical power of the internet, over to our low-level account and talk about what's valuable there. All right, G3, G4, etc. Low-level players, mid-level players. Let's talk about what you have. And again, reminder, you want to pull this one. So every day, come in here and get another 1,200 tokens like Rev's amazing RNG. Same style as what we did before. We'll come in here and I'm going to focus y'all in on Dolomite particles. Prime Orbit has a few good things we've talked about. I think down here, especially if you're in the game playing it at pace at G3, G4, the War Room has a little bit more value, not high, but just something to keep in mind. You see there's not a lot left here. Now, just in case you are running kind of slow on some of your upgrades, maybe you want to look at some of your building upgrades. Depends on where you're at, but truthfully, the main thing in here is going to be the primes and leveling up those, specifically the Dolomite, because you're going to need a lot of Dolomite. There are a lot of Dolomite primes, so don't worry if you're in G3, plenty to go after. In here, kind of more of the same what we just talked about with our G5 and G6 players, where if you need something, go after, but you want to focus on things that take a while to upgrade. The Amalgam has a little bit of a longer upgrade path, and maybe that is viable to you. Or maybe you're a player who's like not wanting to really invest heavily in the Franklin or the Devore, which is actually something I've pulled before. So grab it here to help speed up some of those older loops. But if I had to pick one, especially early ship, even though the cost is pretty steep, it's got to be the Spore Drive components. If we're just looking at a ship part that you need as a G3 player, this thing takes very long to level up, but still maintains value all the way into G6, which is very rare for a ship to have that. Now, yes, it's basically just the USS Uber. It summons things around. If you did not know that, it's actually the main reason some people love the USS Discovery, as well as obviously getting, those officer badges from that Sunday event. But get those Spore Drive components. Moving on over into the ship blueprints. This one's going to be a little bit pickier. For example, if you don't want to go through the process of maxing a Devore, which is quite long, you can start working on getting a Fuchsia right here. Again, you kind of weigh that with your price. Do you want to go through that process? But instead of scrapping Devores, you can just pick up a Fuchsia via the event store. Catch-up mechanics, special ships only. Please, please, please don't be that person dropping it on Enterprises and D4s. It's not a good way to spend your loot. And you see a Meridian, getting a second Meridian can be valuable as a G3 player. So that's something with some recommendation. I wish the Borg Cube was in here. I will continue to bang that drum, as well as the Reliant, which needs to get added in so that players have more ease of access to these specialty ships. I believe the Reliant needs to be one of those thrown in there. But as far as this goes, if you're a G3 player, look at maybe the Fuchsia. Voyager, pretty easy to go through and get that. If you haven't already, well, get the Voyager. Whatever you're feeling hung up on, that's slowed down by, pick up those extra blueprints here. Now, probably the most important for low levels, officers. This is where I'm really going to tell you to focus in on. This tab is huge, including for Savick. In fact, I would encourage everybody who is in G3 to focus on like these rare officers because of lots and lots of value. Getting that ISO Cascade, especially for your future runs, is going to be huge for your below deck abilities as a hostile grinder. Now, I don't want to sleep on some of these fleet commanders either. I really want to point to Sloan. If you're not doing a lot of waves yet in G3, getting Sloan can be helpful. He is probably the third, fourth best fleet commander, right around there. It's either him or FC Kirk for me as third best. So still a lot of value with a lot of good things in there. Help unlocking him earlier is going to help you be a better player It just really depends on how many FC slots you have. So for example, if you've only got 2 FC slots where you're at and you've already got Fleet Commander Lorca thanks to incursions and such, well, then you don't really need Sloan. If you've got, Lorca and Kirk, maybe you can value that somewhere else, but very, very good. But Savick, I think, is the best in this lineup because she's a rare and she's not held back by some of the same drawbacks others are. Just really comes down to where you value her, where you want to go after. Because obviously Carol's really good, but an epic. And the rare is just a little bit easier to go through that process. You also have Leonard McCoy here, who I do think is solid. He's just a little bit more of a Tom Paris. I don't think mitigation for my G3, G4 players is super important. Maybe upper G4, but in terms of overall value, the rares need to be the focus point because right now, we're not seeing a ton of currency from these, right? So get what you can get. And usually that means focusing on rares versus focusing on epics. But there's my preview. There are the things that I think you should go after in the Ferengi store. Hopefully these little tips and tricks help you. Like the video if they did. And if they didn't, like the video anyway because it helps feed my kids. And think of the children. Live long and plunder. Stay safe with those Space Cowboys. Deuce, that's me. Catch you on the next one. And shout out to the VIPs. We got a change for y'all today. That RLB SMS mess. Thankfully they listened. Appreciate you. Love you. See you on the next one.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.